I've seen one.
Yeah, they've been coached by because we started Alabama either before or directly after, but I was like, before.
Well, it launched like my first week on the job, so that was January of 2021. So it was right in the middle. That's when it like publicly launched. The thing at the Capitol, the governor spoke at.
But the vaccines were right around that time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
So I bet it can be reworded to where it's really not as directive, but just like part of a healthy start for children. Yeah.
Well, I take a separate penny and then I send it to her. I'm like, yeah, or Mimo. Mimo gets 50%. So I think Mimo, no, Julie gets 30. She gets 30. And Marla's like, we summed up. There's Chris. Well, what's crazy is you go to market and you go, so you see all this stuff and they sell it for so much more and you're like,
I know, I was helping my girl that works up there while she's doing it. And she was like, outside, all these earrings and things, so she's like, $4.
They got one up somehow.
this in
Left
market.
some in the hallway.
This is
I beat
$12.
them.
She sold it for like $12.
By the time we all go, all our passes are gone, and I'm like, don't go when you actually buy stuff.
Your passes are
Like, they have so many passes for, like, their store.
girl, that ain't the truth. That ain't true. You can add anybody, so as long as if you're a buyer, like also it'll be a gift. So you can have two buyers. Have as many guests. I'm fine. You can add more buyers. You can add as many guests. Like under hours, it's festive. Or just like 5 or 6 days. We'll see now. Is that we can only take a few because that way we can get like every time. Because some of them are easy to see.
I brought her one. I gave her one. I had one.
So like one of the things I had to go in and transfer because I got hollow nipples and it was like this
Oh, there she is.
all of stuff. But then they have temporary. Temporary. Like that's
You don't have to.
So like if you go into like
Tommy said that.
they don't have a minimum. You can buy it.
I was gonna sit over there so I could take
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Okay. Then thank you. Best. Right. Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, hey.
So nice to finally meet you. You were at caucus when they across the way. I didn't wasn't able to get across the room. So nice to finally meet you. I appreciate all y'all there. Fingers crossed. Well, I hear you. So nice to
Thank you.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm gonna give you. No, I laughed. No, I'll give you mine.
Hey,
How's it going?
how you doing? This is free it, right? Y'all on free it. You on free it, Vivian. You on free it.
I'm going to call you. I'm not calling you either. Yeah.
Nice to see you, Francisco.
You can. I'm the one who's struggling.
Everything happens at once. I'm speaking here at 3 and we're going to session downstairs. You know, it's like, I'm the third bill presenting downstairs. So it's like, always, always. For sure.
Okay. So,
I was gonna say, I didn't trace anything,
How are you, girls?
So he did, and I don't know exactly what he said, but he did talk to him.
Oh shoot, I called her. Okay. And do we want to do Frances first? Right? We have to do her first, I think.
I told wherever.
I love it. Teacher.
And then, there you are. Hi. Yeah, okay. It don't matter. It don't matter.
Awesome sauce. Who? Chris, I got, okay. You got me? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Do I have it? Yeah. The message.
Yeah, I was going for a tour. Okay. Well, we'll see, yeah, and we'll do lunch at the hospital. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect.
When I heard that, I was like, oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to start up for Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development on Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. In 2 seconds, we will call the roll, and we will start off with a public hearing. I'm going to say a few remarks, and then I have Ms. Frances Hoke Jones going to go first on this sheet. And Cleo, I've got an opponents up here. If we need, I'll make sure I give anybody that wants to speak against the bill time, if anybody would like to. So having said that, please call the roll.
Senator Butler. Senator Carnley. Senator Chastain. Senator Coleman. Senator Figures. Senator Gavan. Senator Hatcher. Senator Hovey. Senator Kelly. Senator Melson. Senator Roberts. Senator Sessions. Senator Weaver. Senator Gutcher.
I am here. We have 7 people. That is a quorum for this particular committee, so we can conduct business. Marika Coleman is walking in, so I add that. Okay, so we have 8. To start off with, we have a public hearing on Bill SB 328. This public hearing deals with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Just for the committee to know, this bill has been out for about 3 weeks. There's been 18 amendments that we have already adopted into this bill that I introduced. The bill that I filed incorporated all the amendments, and I've got 12 associations on board for this. It's important, obviously, to me that I made sure that we were in the bill, that there is a hardship exemption, that if anyone can't pay a fee that we would rise up on their cell phone bill, then they're not having to pay that. So I wanted to make sure I put that in because some people were worried about the poverty-stricken, which we all are. What this bill does is a difference in 911 and 988. 911 is for public service or public safety. If you needed the police and the sheriffs, they would show up if you dialed 911. 988 would be a number that's under the Department of Mental Health, and we are able to have a fee, and what we do with that is that it would allow to have mental health services 24/7, 365 in every county in the state of Alabama. The public safety aspect obviously goes to 911, where the mental health goes to 988. And if you think about the savings that you will have if we had this particular bill in place, what happens right now? I'm going to take an example. Someone you see has a mental issue, whether that's somebody walking down the street and obviously having mental derangement, or someone with substance abuse, or someone that just needs help. Right now, we call 911. We're using the sheriff staff, the fire, the police, EMS, the first responders, and we're using that personnel, and it costs taxpayers money. Where do they take them? They take them to the jail most of the time. Is the jail equipped to handle mental health? No, they're not, and we're paying for that care through taxpayers' money. Where else do they take them? They take them to the hospital. The hospital, most of the time, are not covered for that, and there has to be a guard that guards them through the ER. And so we're having to pay for indigent care through taxpayers' money. So the savings on this particular bill, I think, would be a break even on what we're trying to raise for 98 cents is all that takes per cell phone. This, again, ensures same-day services for all mental health throughout the state of Alabama. Now, having said that, we're going to start with a public hearing. Representative Frances Hoke Jones, I know you have to leave, so I appreciate you coming here and telling your story.
Thank you very much. For the sake of today, my name is Frances Hoke Moore Jones. I hope none of you ever have to call 911. But when you do, it's about the facts. There's been a wreck. These are the facts, and you can't change the facts.
But with 988, there is a good possibility that you can change what the future holds. Let me repeat, change the future. One Monday morning, 5:30 in the morning, my phone rang. It was my husband. And on the other end of the line, he said, "Are you asleep?" Then he said, "I just called to say goodbye." At that point in time, you become an expert. You immediately go into crisis mode and you do the best darn sales job that you've ever done. You try to convince, in my case, my husband to stay on this earth. Talk about an immediate, untrained, emotional professional. I did the best job that I could for 13 minutes. Then he said, "I love you, bye," and hung up the phone. Why I didn't call him back, I will never know. But this story is about the 988 bill. People say there are several kinds of bills. There are leadership bills. There are favor bills. There are emotional, passion bills. Yes, 988 is a passion, emotional bill. But that's what mental health is. Mental health is emotion. Mental health is emotion for us. It's for our people that just need help, that sometimes they just need someone to talk to. Now back to my story. After my husband said, "I love you, bye," at that point in time, I hung up the phone, and for the first time in my life, I dialed 911. They quickly answered and asked me the purpose of my call. With all the composure I could muster up, I attempted to calmly, factually, tell them where I thought my husband was, and what I thought, what I knew, what my husband might have, what he probably had done. After my statement, the words I heard next, what the 911 dispatcher said to me, are etched in my brain forever. The 911 dispatcher said, "Hold, please." And for what seemed to be an eternity, only to be eventually answered by a second person who said, "Dispatch, how may I help you?" And I had to go through all of it again. 988 would not have kept my husband on this earth. He had made his decision. And yes, 988 costs money. It's a fee. It's a tax. Call it a user fee. I don't really care what you call it. But it's the best way to have a solid cash flow into Alabama mental health assistance funding. It's not the only answer, but it's a heck of a good, solid financial start. Thank you.
Representative, yes.
It's
Senator
also,
Figures.
I was going to make note of that. She's also a representative, a member of the House of Representatives, because she didn't say that.
Thank you for sharing your stories, what they're
Absolutely.
saying. We appreciate you being here today. I know you've got to run, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Give me a hug first. You need a hug.
Well, there is some hugging going on in the committee room right now. We're going to call up Kim Boswell from the Department of Mental Health next. As we go forward, I think because of the time restraints that we have going onto the floor in 19 minutes, we're going to give everyone 2 minutes and get going, okay? When you hear the bell, I'll stop you.
All right.
Commissioner.
Thank you. Every 11 minutes, someone in the United States takes their life. Equally alarming is that suicide is one of the leading causes of death among ages 10 to 34. In 2022, more than 65,000 children in Alabama experienced a major depressive episode. There is a new way to get immediate help. Alabama's crisis system of care is a continuum of mental health crisis services that is transforming our crisis response. Unfortunately, these services are not available in all communities. It is time for every Alabamian to have access to crisis services. The Alabama 988 Act would establish the Alabama Crisis Care Fund so that everyone has access to care in a crisis. Since July 2022, 988 has served as the new 911 for mental health crisis services in Alabama. In less than 1 year, 988 has received more than 100,000 contacts. This number continues to grow. The Alabama 988 Act funds the crisis system of care. A simple 98-cent monthly surcharge will be added to phone lines. These funds will ensure 988 call centers are fully staffed, add more crisis centers, and grow the number of mobile crisis teams statewide. The Alabama 988 Act will help to relieve our law enforcement officers and hospitals from the void that they have been filling for far too long. So often when people are in a crisis, they don't know who to call or where to go. Law enforcement is vital to our public safety, and they see firsthand every day individuals going through a crisis who need a mental health response instead of a law enforcement response. Imagine if every community had access to these vital services. 988 saves lives. Access to care saves lives. Lives depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate you being here. Speaking of hospitals, Dane Howard, I've got you on the sheet. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. In light of what you just said about expeditious comments, for all of the reasons that you all know, the Alabama Hospital Association gives its full support to this effort. We're long overdue properly funding mental health resources, mental health capabilities throughout the state. Hospitals have for a long time and will for a while. This is not the end all. This is a great first step. Let's keep working to make more funding available for more resources. Currently, when someone is in crisis on the street that was mentioned earlier, oftentimes law enforcement give them a choice, jail or the hospital emergency room. I'm going to pick hospital if I have that option. The problem after that is the hospitals often don't have mental health resources, and even when they do, it's not the proper place for someone that's in crisis. And after that, there's really nowhere else to send them. So they wind up in a perpetual cycle, held in a hospital emergency room for an indefinite amount of time. I can tell you of some have been held for more than a year waiting for a bed. This is an excellent opportunity for Alabama to take a great leap forward to start resolving some of the process, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. We appreciate it. Next is Chris Reeder from Aaliyah.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Reeder. For the past year, I've had the privilege of serving on the 988 Study Commission and group working to put together the 988 program with the Department of Mental Health. A lot of people ask, why does Aaliyah sponsor and support 988 to the extent that we do? And the answer to that is, what is 911? 911 is a number you call when you have no one else to call. And despite the best training we can offer our police officers, they will never be mental health professionals. 988 gives the citizens of Alabama that extra number to call. It gives them an extra tool to save a life, which is what law enforcement's ultimate goal is. This allows the law enforcement to be law enforcement, and it allows mental health to fully serve the state of Alabama. So with that being said, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency gives its full support to the Department of Mental Health and to the 988 Commission and this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeder. I appreciate that. Holly Corkle from the council, would you like to come forward as a proponent? And I'm going to say this real quick. I've got some telcos that are out there, and if you would like to speak, just in a minute, just raise your hand, and I'll make sure that we have no opponent side to this.
Good afternoon, Senators. I'm Holly McCorkle, and I'm the Executive Director of the Alabama Council for Behavioral Health Care. I represent all the providers that are currently responsible for answering the 988 calls. The 988 mental health crisis line was established and signed into law by President Trump in 2020, and the federal law authorized and anticipated states would eventually collect fees to support and build out the 988 system moving forward. One of the very first calls to 988 was a female CEO who was planning her suicide. The 988 counselor was able to help her develop a safety plan. The next day there was follow-up, and the CEO was going to get treatment and felt confident she was going to overcome her depression. Another example, a caller called 988 and was actively contemplating suicide. Due to the nature of the circumstances, co-response was deployed. When they arrived, the mental health professional was able to de-escalate the situation, and they brought the individual to a crisis center for treatment. These are not anecdotes. These are actual Alabamians whose lives have been saved. These lives have been saved because you decided as policymakers to invest in mental health care, and every Alabamian deserves to have this access. This is a quote from a 988 counselor. The most rewarding, difficult calls are the active rescues. Getting assistance to someone who has already taken action to end their life at the moment is a difficult thing to do, but then you realize you have just saved a life. Having a phone number to call is essential for people who need help. But as it stands, only about a third of Alabamians have access to crisis services. You may have heard criticism of the fee. However, we view this fee as fiscally responsible to meet the needs in our community. This bill would allow us to ensure some level of 24/7 crisis services in each community. For example, the Crisis Center in Mobile, that's been operating since May of 2021, estimates they've saved their community $17.8 million due to diverted inpatient hospitalizations, hospital ERs, arrest, and ambulance transport. As you can see, this is not only a fiscally responsible, but ensures Alabamians in every county receive appropriate life-saving response. Your zip code should not dictate your access to mental health care, and the time is now to pass Senate Bill 328. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Holly. We appreciate you being here. Charlie Nickel, 911 Director for Mobile County. Thank you for coming up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Charlie McNichol. I'm the 911 Director in Mobile County. I'm also past president of an association called AA&D, which is Alabama 911 Directors, and we fall under ACCA. So the reason I came up today is to let you know that AA&D definitely supports this legislation. Our 911 operators, as you've heard, are public safety officers, okay? But you can't really train them to help these folks. My background is law enforcement. I came up through the ranks down in South Alabama, and it's a bad spot to put them in. And I think the people that are in crisis at that time need this type of help. They don't need 911. They don't need law enforcement. Another way to look at it is some people that are in crisis view 911 as the police, and they don't want them. They don't want to be in trouble. They don't want them to come out. So they may not feel like they can call 911 comfortably. Whereas if they have 988, they know what that's for, and they know that that is designed to help them. So I would encourage you to seriously consider passing this. And let me give you some numbers. In Mobile County, since January 1, year to date, we've answered over 3,600 calls already dealing with mentally ill, okay? Over 600 of those were suicidal. 1,300 of those were people just in crisis. So the people are needing help. And as a 911 director, I can tell you, as much as I'd like to tell you that we can always help them the way we want to, it's just not there. I mean, we may transfer them a couple of times, as Francis mentioned, and that's not what they need. They need the person that answers to be able to give them the assistance they need.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Before we go any further, Leo, Justin, anybody that would like to speak? I'm sorry I'm calling you by name, but just Mr. White, please excuse me. Yes, Mr. Washington.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Cleo Washington. I serve as Vice President of AT&T. And let me first and foremost say that we do not oppose the bill. We do not oppose the bill. The Wireless Association has been working with Chairman Reynolds when he first had the committee meeting a few weeks ago to kind of focus on what, from our view, is an issue of public policy. And that is the issue, how do you pay for it? It's no question whether the services should be provided. What we pointed out during the meetings is that there are only 5 states in the United States, 5, that have adopted what is proposed by this bill and the House bill. And that is a fee or a tax, whichever one you want to call it. The projections are that it will create $70 million a year, a $70 million tax or $70 million fee, whichever way you want to define it. The highest fee in any state is in the state of Washington. That is 40 cents. The lowest fee is in the state of California. That's 8 cents. So it's California, Washington, Nevada, Colorado, and Virginia. Those are the only 5. Those are the only 5. The proposed fee here is 98 cents. Fortunately, Chairman Reynolds lowered what was initially proposed, which was 98 as a minimum up to a maximum of $3. Now, it is, again, an issue of public policy for you all to decide whether this should be something from the wireless industry that, if it is a level of priority, and it is, funded through the general fund as opposed to a separate fee or a separate tax. That's our only issue that we hope the committee considers that, and we want to put that on the table. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I have a
Senator Figures.
Yes, Mr. Washington. Would you not be opposed to sharing the fee, if you will? Say, for instance, there's wireless, and then there is what's the phones that, what do you call them that you,
Landline.
the landlines? Yeah. I don't have them anymore, but the landline. So, placing a fee on each of those services, or even considering a fee, an additional, split it up between wireless, and then you've got your internet and cable to consider. Then you've got your landlines.
Yeah, I believe as proposed, and again, you can ask one of the experts, Ms. Boswell, one of the experts from the department. I believe as proposed, it is a fee or a tax on every line, whether wireline, wireless, and I believe voice over IP also. That's how they came up with the approximate, and again, they can get up and correct me, approximately 5.8 million lines to come up with that $70 million fee. Again, we strongly support it. In fact, AT&T, I think, was the first national company after the FCC made the announcement back in 2020 to come out and say how strongly we support this. The only issue is, what is the appropriate way to pay for it?
Okay,
and
but
that,
you didn't
again,
answer my question when I asked you about that. Would you be in favor of an idea where it would split it out of, like you got the cable company that has nothing to do with wireless or telephones, and I only said wireless because I just heard you say wireless, and that's why I threw in the landline deal. So, like with me, I have the bundled package with my wireless, my internet, and my cable, DirecTV with AT&T, and I could see that, let's just round it up to say 90 cents and 30 cents for each one of those services, which would spread it out, if you will, without it being one thing on one industry. Anyway, just an idea.
It's your public policy decision, Senator.
But thank you for not answering that question.
If there are no further questions, I'll be glad to, you all need to contact me.
Yes. So, Mr. Washington, and I apologize for calling you by your first name also.
No.
Please.
Fine.
I know. We're going to go with Sandra Lucas from ADVA, and then Senator Hatcher is recognized.
If I may,
Please.
2 quick insights. One, isn't there a hardship?
There is a hardship clause in this,
clause
yes.
in it?
Yes.
And I know we're short on time for
We are.
the rest of the people trying to get in, but I want to say that I absolutely support this bill. And several of our people out there, from Commissioner Boswell, Holly, Ada Catherine, Donna Leslie, and others, know my personal views on mental health and the onslaught of mental health challenges that we are facing and that we are about to face. And even more so, that number is exploding among the adolescent population. And so whatever can be done, I would personally not like for the dollar figures to get in the way, and for us to see it really as a public health circumstance that we need to address very soon. And I'm grateful that we are no longer simply talking about it, but the willingness to put some money behind it.
I agree with that. And just for knowledge, 2010, we cut mental health funding because of the Great Depression. Great Depression, Great Recession, over 60%. We haven't been back to where we were. This is the first bill that we've actually been able to get mental health funded back to where it needs to be. And no blame to the people that were here before then. They had to do what they had to do. But this is the first time we can have 24/7, 365 mental health throughout the whole state in every county, rural, urban, it doesn't matter. So that's why I'm behind the bill too, and thank you for your comments. Because of the lack of time, and I've gone over it already, Senator, we have a favorable report, and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please call the roll. Let's do a long roll.
Senator Butler, Senator Carnley, Senator Chastain, Senator Coleman, Senator Figurs, Senator Gavan, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly, Senator Melson, Senator Roberts, Senator Sessions, Senator Weaver, Senator Gudger.
Aye. So SB 328 has a favorable recommendation and passes favorably 9 to 1 abstention. Thank you, committee. I appreciate that. I love the way you did your speech in the House committee, and I wish we could hear it, but we are so out of time, so I'm sorry about that. Having said that real quick, before we go any further, without having our chairman, Rex Reynolds, I know you're in the back. Rex, would you please stand up? Without your leadership and mental health and all these years and your investigation background, we wouldn't have even made it to this point. I just wanted to make sure we recognize you while you're in the room, and thank you for everything. And you're this, yeah. Chairman Reynolds is the sponsor of this bill in the House, by the way, so everybody knows. Thank you, committee. Next is on the agenda, SB 314. Smitherman, you have the floor. Senator, yes. We have a move for passage. We have a second. Any further discussion? Previous roll, without objection. Thank you. That was the fastest that we've ever had a bill pass through this committee. Next is HB 378, which is exactly the same bill. We have a favorable from Senator Melson, second from Senator Coleman. Using previous roll, that it passes also 11 to nothing. And then last is Senator Roberts, SB 315. Senator Roberts, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, we have an amendment. Everyone has a copy. If we can adopt the amendment, then we can discuss the bill. I'd like to present this amendment and move favorable on the amendment, if possible, please.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second from Senator Hovey. Using previous roll. Without objection, it sounds that way. So 11 to 0. Now we're on the amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. SB 315. This is really it's a very simple bill. It's about providing lifeline service to the lowest economic class that we have in the state. Currently, there are 3 providers that are here. This will allow our PSC, Public Service Commission, to allow other providers to enter in, which would have a broader service for those in our state. That's the whole benefit. I believe there's 7 other states that have recently done something similar to this. I've worked together with the providers. They were the ones that had the amendment. And with that,
as amended, we have a motion from Senator Hatcher, who is second. Senator Melson, using previous roll without objection. And that passes 11 to 1, so 11 to 0. Sorry. What was that bill number? SB 315 passes. Senator Roberts, good job. Committees, we are adjourned. Thank you for being here. Hey.